Firki team. I'll help you navigate through this webinar today. We will now watch a short video that will help us introduce the Firki website, its features. I request Bala Miss to please share your screen and show us the video.
The Firki website offers a diverse set of content for teachers to support them in their professional development as well as in their classrooms, and is free of charge and easy to use. In order to access the portal, type firki.co and you will be directed to the Firki website. To register on Firki, fill in a brief registration form. You can also sign in through your Google account. You will have to use your email ID in order to create an account on our website. This account is again free to create and use. Once you create your account and log in with your credentials, you will be directed to the dashboard. The dashboard would have notifications related to your profile, course progress, time spent, and your Firki discussion groups. To access different pedagogical courses, you can click on the courses link on the top left of the screen. The courses page allows you to choose courses based on difficulty level and category. The courses are also available in different regional languages. Feel free to browse the different courses we have in our catalog using the search bar above. Each Firki course is designed using the FITS model that stands for Feel, Imagine, Do, and Share. The Feel section of the course helps you identify your current practices. The Imagine section defines the practices that one should follow to improve teaching and learning outcomes. A detailed description of strategies are highlighted under the Do section that one can implement in the classroom and with their students. At last, the Share section talks about ways in which one can share their learnings with each other. Each course has also a set of reflection questions as part of the assessment section. Along with the course material, each Firki course also contains a learning circle plan and journal pages. A learning circle plan helps the coaches and mentors conducting the offline learning circles to discuss and share learnings from the course. A journal page summarizes the course with important points. We are adding new courses every month, so keep watching this space. Next up, we have the webinars page that is also accessible from the top left of the screen. On this page, you will find information about the upcoming webinars. If you scroll down, you will find a bunch of resources from our older webinars. These resources will include video recordings of the webinar itself, notes from the webinar, the presentation used by our speaker, and other resources on the topic covered. Do feel free to browse this section at your leisure. The final page to look out for is the resources page, also to be found at the top left corner of your screen. This page houses and will house resources from several of our partner organizations, such as the British Council, Khan Academy, Storyweaver, Pratham Books, and more. We are in the process of adding to the list, and you can easily filter resources by partners, grades or standard, and the subject of instruction. We hope you find value in using these resources in your practice as teachers and educators. Finally, you can find the Firki app on the Play Store and can access these courses, resources, and webinars through your phone. So download our app and stay connected to teaching and learning on the go.
Thank you so much, Bala Miss, for that. Dear participants, I hope this video helped you to understand a little bit more about Firki, the different features that we have, different tools that are available to learn. If you still have some questions, you want to know a little bit more about Firki, please write to us at contactfirki@teachforindia.org. The link will also be pasted very shortly on the chat window. So with this, let's move on to the webinar at hand today. Thank you for taking the time to join us in this discussion. In designing this and other webinars throughout the year, the Firki team is hoping that we can disseminate meaningful knowledge and skills that will take us closer to a goal of improving the quality of education in Indian classrooms. Today's webinar is a panel discussion designed in partnership with RISE. The discussion, having diverse voices, will help us to explore the vision of RISE, share details about the program and the application process, and discuss the relevance of a program like RISE in the Indian classroom setup. So with that, I'll quickly introduce all our panelists today in just one sentence. Before we move to the webinar and before they start answering all our questions, they'll also give a very detailed description and introduction about themselves. We have Mark German here. He's the Director of Operations for the RISE program. In this role, he's responsible for all the organizational operations. We also have Jody here, who's a Program Administrator for the RISE program. In this role, she's responsible for the integration and process management of the different working teams for RISE. We have Sushruti. She's a 2013 Teach for India alumni who is currently leading the program at Teach for India Delhi site. We also have Koina Biswas, who's a 12th grader from Chhattisgarh, and she serves on the Kids Education Revolutionary Council. Welcome all of you to this panel discussion. Thank you so much for being part of this, and warm welcome to all of you. So this brings us to the norms of the webinar today. Given the large audience that we're expecting today, please keep your video and mic off, like I mentioned in the beginning, to reduce stress on the bandwidth. Unmute it only when the speaker asks you to do so, or if you want to share something out loud. Also, please keep a pen and paper near you so that you can take notes of anything that we are discussing here. You can keep typing your questions in the chat box during the session. I'll make a note of all the questions, and with the time that we have, we'll try to address as many questions as possible. This webinar will also be recorded and will be available on YouTube and the Firki website very soon. So this brings me to the end of my long introduction. I know it's around 10-15 minutes. I have been speaking. Before we go ahead with the webinar at hand today, we always have an opening activity, a quick 30-second opening activity. So what we are going to do right now is all of us who are in this call, we'll all switch on our mic. We'll all say hello in our mother tongue. So it can be namaste, namaskaram, can be any language. So we'll all hear all the different languages that we speak and to understand the diversity that we have. Okay, so when I say go, you can say hello in your mother tongue. Okay, ready, 1, 2, 3, go.
Namaskar.
Thank you so much, everyone. This is one of the best fun parts of the webinar, really, to understand the that we have. Diversity that we have in this group, the different people who have joined from different parts of the country or even the world. Thank you so much for that. So now let's jump into our discussions about the RISE program. My first question is to actually all of you here, Mark, Jody, Suchiti, and Koina. What is the importance of student leadership, and how does an opportunity like this foster leadership? So it'll be great if you can start by introducing us a little bit more about who you are, what do you currently do, and then answer this question. Mark, can you get us started? What is the importance of student leadership, and how does an opportunity foster leadership?
Sure. So I'm very excited to be with you today. My name is Mark German. I'm Director of Operations for RISE, and I'm joining you today from New York City. Despite my title of Director of Operations, I identify first and foremost as a classroom teacher. That's where I began my career. I was very excited about the promise of technology and left the classroom to embark on a second career that was really focused on curriculum development, teacher training, and then later program management, having had the opportunities to work on global initiatives for the Gates Foundation and Intel. It was during my time with Intel that I had opportunity to visit India several times, not only visiting classrooms and meet with teachers in Delhi, but also getting to Jharkhand, Kerala, Himachal Pradesh. So excited to be with you today. In terms of the comments about leadership, I'm going to let Jody kick that off, and then I'll come back to answer that question. So let's start with Jody.
Hi, everyone. So excited to see all of your faces and very excited to be here. I apologize for the heater in the background. It's quite loud because it is very cold in New York City. I'm Jody Lowe. As I mentioned, I am the program administrator for RISE. Similarly to Mark, I was in education. I worked in the New York City public school system for 2 years right after graduating college, and absolutely loved working with young people. It's always exciting and fun, and you always learn so much. And that's what really attracted me to RISE. So yeah, I'm happy to kick us off with the first question. So, I mean, what is the importance of student leadership, right, for RISE and this opportunity? So I think in conversations that, I've had with friends and the young people I've worked with, and myself included, there's definitely this sense of frustration that the right change is not happening. We've advanced so quickly as a society, and it still feels like, there's a sense of urgency that, what is the right change and like how do we foster that? And sometimes things just continue to feel so stagnant. So RISE is really the opportunity for young people to have a voice and lead the change that they want to see. You know, RISE is the opportunity to give young people that platform. And as we thought about RISE, we really thought about the whole individual, and we took a very holistic approach that is much more beyond just like what you traditionally learn in classrooms. And, you know, we've ensured that the RISE platform and, you know, how you apply to RISE is really thinking about the entire person and that journey, because it's within that journey through the application process in which, you know, young people can think about the leadership that they want to lead and the change that they want to see. And we really just wanted to use RISE as a space to create that and foster that leadership.
I would just add to Jody's remarks that for us, we have a very expansive definition of leadership, that we believe that leaders demonstrate many different traits. For us in RISE, we tend to focus on 5 key areas: brilliance, perseverance, integrity, empathy, and calling. We believe that leadership is not limited to one field or one discipline. We also recognize that students can lead in many different capacities. There may be individuals who have great ideas who would lead for the movement, but may not be the chief evangelist for that organization. So leadership can look and take many different forms. And I think as teachers, we have a responsibility to provide our students with many different opportunities to showcase their leadership potential. And I look forward to sharing more as we talk in the next hour.
Koina, would you like to go next? Why not hear from a student on why?
Sure. Hi everyone, my name is Koina Biswas and I'm currently a 12th grader. And I just, so yes, I am a 12th grader and I took commerce as my stream. Am I audible? I'm
Yes,
so
Koina,
sorry.
we can hear you.
Yes.
Yeah, all clear.
Yes. So I've taken commerce as my stream and now I'm currently a student intern at Kids Education Revolution. So before, like how I came to KER, came to know about KER and be a part of the Revolutionary Council. So in my school, I started a project on communications. I used to teach students in my school, and then I realized that the actual problem was communication. I mean, not the skills that we talk about, like the effective communication skills. I firstly don't believe that communication is a skill and it's a general thing of expressing. I felt that this is what people were like lacking at my community. So I worked with the students on that particular aspect of communication. And then I realized, okay, something that I did or something that I was doing was a part where I was leading. I was leading a bunch of students and I was leading the path. And then I realized that, okay, student leadership consists of 3 things. It is to identify that what's the problem that's happening around and to be aware about it and to be conscious about it. And then the main thing that it consists of the effective communications, like how do you communicate it? So student leadership, the importance of student leadership is that I feel like to know that what's happening around and to take the initiative and to stand for people. So I used to be able to speak. That's how I showed my leadership. And I took the ownership of helping people. It actually felt so good, like helping in like helping your mates and collaborating with people is what student leadership is. And it is very important because it not just helps a group of people, but it individually helps you also, like to know more and to be confident about yourself and what's happening around.
Thank you everyone for sharing. And it was absolutely lovely to hear different perspectives on student leadership. I don't think I have much to add, but I do believe that student leadership is really important. And I've seen this over my experience with education in the past 8 years, is that when we are working towards creating a better world, it can't happen if you completely ignore a section or a part of a society. And we always, when I started teaching, I started off with a vision that my children will be change makers of tomorrow. When they grow up, they're going to be this. But the whole idea of student leadership is be a leader today. We are not building you to be leaders of tomorrow. We are building you to be leaders of today, to take that action today. And I think when the whole world actually works together, including children, towards creating a better vision for what this world could be, I think we are going to achieve and we're going to solve the big problems in the world. Climate change, poverty, hunger, these are all big problems. And if we take the entire society along, it's going to really help. And that's why I believe student leadership is really important.
Thank you so much, everyone, for that. I think different themes that are coming up are like having a strong voice for students. That is a form of leadership. And even like Mark said, there are different ways of leadership. It's not only one thing that is, leadership. There are different forms, and having, being aware, taking initiative. And so, like you rightly said, it's leaders of today and not only tomorrow. So it's just everybody together marching towards a better world. Thank you so much for that. My next question is specifically to Sushruti and Koina, because it's a very specific Indian context question. So what are the current opportunities students have as part of talent identification in India? So Koina, maybe you can share from a student's point of view, and Sushruti, maybe you from the teacher or educator point of view. Koina, can you get us started?
Sure, Didi. So as a student, student leadership and the talent identification really matters to us, and the main thing that is the opportunities that we are getting. So I personally feel that in my life, I've really got 3 opportunities and they've really helped me. So first has been the MEN. Second has been the sports, like talking about sports and academics. So that has really helped me, and KER. So these things for me, these things have really helped me, because when I was in MEN, I was like being the delegate of a particular country. I was representing the country. So that's when I understood, okay, so these are the stakeholders, and they take the responsibility of taking forward a topic and discussing over it. And with cluster, like sports cluster, like we generally say that from sports you learn what leadership is. Like in an individual sport, even like from there also we like understand that what leadership is, what steps you need to take now, and like what moves you need to take. And then came KER, which has been like a drastic change for me, because that's when I realized that, okay, I have some qualities. It's just that I need to unleash it. I just need to like make it, like just need to polish it more, and then I can put an impact in a wider community. So such opportunities really helps a student to take the to take the ownership and to lead any path. So such opportunities have really helped me, and there are a lot of opportunities like Olympiads, and then even the reality show that we talk very specifically, then even the reality shows like the dance competitions and the singing competitions, even like they are the sort of opportunities which really helps one to show student leadership.
I think Koina has covered pretty much everything. I do believe there are opportunities within and outside school. However, I also know that these opportunities are very skewed in favor of a certain demographic of people who are much more aware of what's out there and who have much more access to different forms of media. And I think that's something that I've seen as a contrast between me growing up, how many opportunities I was able to leverage and access just by virtue of the social capital that I had, and how it is different for the kids that I taught. And therefore, I saw my role as that of an opportunity provider. And once you see that as your role, there are multiple opportunities that you find. A couple of them being Design for Change is a great opportunity that I did leverage during my fellowship with my students to work towards actually creating change on the ground using the FIDS process that you just shared. There is City as Lab that runs its program, which is a research-based problem solving program that children can leverage to actually build skills of research towards solving a particular problem. And as Koina said, there are these dance competitions, reality shows, sports. I saw a lot of my children accessing sports, and I see that very rampant in government schools where you have good sports teachers. My students particularly got a lot of access to state level and national level competitions just by virtue of the sports teacher being really, really enthusiastic about that idea. And within Teach for India, I think the role that our teachers have played through their second year projects is creating more such opportunities for children to engage with the outside world and identify the talent and their strengths. So I think honestly, there's no dearth of opportunities. It's more dearth of awareness that works through that. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Like you said, lots of opportunities available within our country, but also, the access for different sets of people to these opportunities and how we make use of it. I think, like Sushri said, a teacher makes a really good difference. If a teacher can take those initiatives and make use of those opportunities, that's also a great boost for students. My next question is to Jody and Mark. So it's to understand more about the RISE program. So how is RISE working to find and support young people like Koina? Jody, can you get us started with this question?
Yeah, so we definitely cannot do this work alone in finding exceptional young people. So we've got partnerships, and Teach for India is one of them. But we partnered with really great organizations around the world who can really determine how we can best support young people in their regions, because it's not on us to go into a country and determine that. It's on the local community leaders, and so that's what we did. But we're also working on reaching students via social media, because we know that there are so many young people on social media, and that's kind of where they all gather. And we're also working with other young people to identify other young people, because young people know each other best. And so it's much better to go to a young person and say, hey, do you know a really great potential RISE Global winner? So we've also been working with the young people in our community. And we created this refer a friend process where, when you apply to the first stage of RISE in the Hello World RISE app, you can copy a link and send it to your friend and say, I refer you to apply to RISE. And we've really found that is a great, peers are the best at determining who is the talented individual that really needs this opportunity.
So I'll add to that. I think it's also very important to recognize that there is still very much a digital divide. And we want to be able to reach students and provide pathways for them to apply and participate in the program. Our preference would be that for most students who have access to the technology, that they download an app called Hello World RISE, and they use that for their application process. And that becomes a community of learners who experience different activities together as they go through their application process. As part of that, there's opportunities for students to respond to different prompts and upload videos, selfie style, and provide peer review. We recognize that that is a challenge for many students who have low bandwidth. So we have two other low-tech pathways. There is an opportunity for students who have smartphone or have feature phones to be able to apply through WhatsApp. So there's another different pathway that allows them to experience some of the same opportunities for themselves as they go through. Also, in some cases, we recognize that technology is not a solution. So we're working with several country partners to provide paper applications for students. So as students advance through the process, if we identify students who have low or no access to technology, we're committed to providing them opportunities to continue through that pathway. At a later phase, we want to be able to do group interviews. Because of the pandemic, we don't envision to be able to do a lot of in-person activities this year. So for those who advance to the finalist phase, we want to do group interviews. So the challenge will be on us to be able to either bring students to the technology or send the technology to the students who do advance. And then for those students who make up the first cohort of 100 learners, we will provide a technology package for them and access to data packets so they can continue to participate in the program And our emphasis is not only on those 100 cohort, but also beyond. So we're thinking a little bit about the technology. And I think because of the pandemic, we've become very creative with some of our solutions and what we can learn, and have amazed ourselves. And just our, the teachers in particular are our champions in trying to figure out what happens there. So I think the technology is one area that helps us find and support young people, but also thinking about accessibility. And for those students who have many different challenges, we also want to recognize that. And because we have these different pathways, if there are those challenges, we can work with those students to be able to make sure that they can participate and engage. We hope that once we select the first cohort, if safety conditions allow, we'll be able to bring the students together for a 2 to 3 week residential experience. So as part of that, we're going to want to know what special accommodations may be needed for those students to fully participate. Also, we envision, because of safety reasons and visa issues, not all the students will be able to be in person. So we'll have to think about ways to have them virtually. So I think between the ways that Jody identified, thinking a little bit about low tech and no tech opportunities to participate, accessibility, and if you encounter any challenges during the application process, please reach out with us, and we're committed to finding a solution to be able to help identify and support students through the application process.
Thank you for that. So there are different touch points that you make use of to reach out to the student community. There's one question specifically in the chat box. Is it open to everyone? So can you make that also a little clear?
Yeah, so RISE is open specifically to 15 to 17-year-olds, but beyond that, there is no other criteria.
So anybody in the age group 15 to 17 can apply. There's no other restriction. Perfect. Thank you so much. Koina, my next question is to you actually. So we know that because of the pandemic, there's a lot of like digital learning that's happening. We're not able to go to the classroom. It's all happening in a phone or a laptop or a tablet or any sort of device. So can you share the challenges that you have faced as a student with online becoming the new normal? You are not able to go to school. You have to learn in front of a phone. So what are some challenges that you have faced?
So there's a hell lot of difference between the online teaching and the classroom teaching. Learning, I mean. So when I used to be in school, like we used to write, and since now we've just like started the online teaching, I've lost the habit of writing on the paper, like with pen, and like use it frequently. Like I had this routine of writing my question and answer on the paper, but now it's just all gone. And since I'm a 12th grader and like boards are near, I really need to practice it. And like I have this tendency of writing my my answers really slow. I'm a really slow writer, so like now it's really difficult for me to balance it. So this is one challenge, like first challenge. And the second challenge is like sometimes there's internet loss, like there's no connection at all, and like when there's no internet, it really gets difficult for me to join the classes and to see that what's going on. And when there's a very low bandwidth, then the voice starts breaking, and when the voice starts breaking, it really gets difficult to even speak something, because if I try to speak something, my teacher says, Koina, your voice is breaking. So, and the chats are completely disabled. Like my school doesn't even allow us to like open the chat so that I can even type it out and like write on the chat box. So there has been these two challenges, and like internet bandwidth has been the major problem, I feel, because when it's not there, then it really gets difficult to like understand things when the voice is breaking. So these two challenges are like has been really problematic for me.
Thank you, Koina, for that. Hopefully, we can hope that everything will get back to a better place very soon. So Shruti, my next question is to you from the other point of view, the teacher's point of view, an educator's point of view. What are the learning gaps that you have seen, or how has it increased because of the pandemic and school shutting down for almost a year now?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. And I'm going to tell you, I attended this talk by Rukmini Banerjee. She's the CEO of Pratham in India. And she said something really interesting when the pandemic happened and school shut down. And she said, this is a good time for us to actually go back to the drawing board, something on the lines of this, but it's a good time for us to go back to the drawing board and actually redefine what learning means and what education means. The gaps are in reference to what we've defined education is, that by say X or X grade, you need to know these things. However, this pandemic has taught us a lot of things, especially the one that if there are no four walls in which you can learn, how might children really learn, and what exactly is learning that will enable children to live a life of fulfillment? And I think that's where I'm seeing there is an asset-based approach and there is a gap-based approach. I think I'm going to take the asset-based approach here, that while the pandemic has taught us that our children are falling behind on reading levels, there is research that says that the schools closure are going to affect lifelong earnings of children by almost 6%, especially children from disadvantaged backgrounds. I think there's the other side to it, how we are now reperceiving learning and how we are looking at learning from your own surroundings, learning from the people that you know, learning from your parents, learning from your family, learning from experiences in life. And I think that is something that we struggle to provide in school because we were always hidden behind those textbooks. And we always knew that this is the protocol that we need to follow. So I'm just going to say that there is a learning gap, yes, but I think our children have learned far more than they would have had it been a normal school year. They've learned resilience. They've learned about the science of how viruses spread. And they've learned how to put others and think about the world at large and not just themselves. So I think that's something that's come out of the pandemic. Yes.
Thank you for that positive lens, Sushruti. Honestly, I was expecting all the negative, all the problems, but then I think this also makes us feel good. Okay, there's something good has definitely come out of it. And students and even teachers, all of us have also learned to be flexible. With whatever time that we have, with whatever devices that we have, we will learn. So yeah, thank you for that. Next question is to Jody and Mark. It's also to understand about the RISE program a little bit more. So why do you think RISE is a good program to apply for? So how is the program going to address these learning gap challenges for students who get selected, but they don't have proper online infrastructure? So why should people apply for it? Jody, can you get us started?
Yeah, absolutely. So for the 100 global winners, there's a lifetime of benefits. There are 5. There's education support. So, funding for any type of college or university anywhere in the world that an applicant and a winner would want to attend. We are happy to support that. We will have, as Mark mentioned earlier, a residential summit, but once, we know that it's safe to convene in person, we will do so. Until then, it will be done virtually, and we will provide the access, the technology needed to convene virtually until we can convene the winners in person. We will also provide mentorship and career services. So if a winner wants to go in a particular field and would like to talk to somebody or just have a near peer mentor, we are working on that matching process and making sure it's really compatible and works really well. We are also providing funding opportunities. So if a winner wants to start their own social enterprise, we are happy to provide the funding for that and help them get set up. We also have early access to opportunities, so learning resources and any other type of opportunity that a winner finds that they would like support in, we are also happy to guide them through that process and provide that support. And then there's a global community. So RISE is a global community. When you apply through RISE, whether it's on the Hello World RISE application platform or another mode, you are automatically a part of the global community. And you get to speak to young people, 15 to 17 years old, all around the world. And it's really just like a great way to make friends. And I think in such a world, especially during COVID, when young people feel, kind of disconnected, having a platform where they can come together and make new friends is also really exciting. But, RISE is not just about the 100 global winners. Every applicant who applies to RISE will get something out of it. Whether it's, again, like I said, meeting other applicants in the RISE global community, or on the RISE application platform, there are also other opportunities through our partner organizations that applicants can also apply to and win. And there is also a lot of learning resources on the RISE application, and we're thinking about how to expand that beyond just the app. So it's really, you can get something out of it and learn something new either about yourself or, other applicants on the platform beyond just being the final 100.
And to that, a couple of thoughts. I think first, I've been involved with many initiatives over my career, and I think many teachers have nominated many students to initiatives, and many of the students who are on this call have been part of those initiatives. And despite great intentions, often we find the situation is that the funding runs out. And what I like about RISE is it has the promise of that lifetime. And so in many ways, I think that as we think about the different opportunities that we've been associated with in the past, I like to think of those as gateway opportunities, where we start students down a path, we find different students of different backgrounds, and we hope that they will begin their going down that pathway. And that pathway is built out with many different partners in the community, both informal and formal education. But here we want to really build out that pathway. We want to be here for the next century to support students. This is a bold, audacious initiative. We hope to be able to get to a point where in the future we have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of students applying for this. The process, and there's a couple of questions that came in about the application journey. And if you go to risefortheworld.org website, there's a lot of details there. But we had, I think, a couple other ways that it's significant is that with a lot of other challenges or competitions, the emphasis is really on those students who get selected. And the program begins once you're identified and once you're part of that cohort, and all the benefits are for those. We're thinking of this as not only during the application cycle, but year round. What does this look like? So what we want to do is to be able to begin the process the moment the student begins registering for that experience. So there's opportunities to share information about yourself, your interests, your background. And then we want to be able to provide you with different prompts for you to reflect on and to be able to share and respond to others. An example here would be we would have a learning module on the importance of gratitude. You may hear a brief 5-minute video by an expert talking about the benefits of gratitude, and then challenging a student to go back and to reflect on someone who has played an important role in their lives and to write a letter of gratitude to that individual, and then go one step further and read that letter to that person, and then come back, record a quick video, selfie style, talking about that importance of that experience. And these are different learning modules that we want to focus on, curiosity conversations, to be able to help influence you to a later phase where you want to focus on a challenge that really gives you the opportunity to showcase an area that's of great importance to you that you care about, and to demonstrate your thinking and your plan and how you go about trying to solve this problem over time. So we want to be able to get more details before we have that interview. So we hope is that once we select the students, we want to provide opportunities for that cohort of 100, but our hope is that year-round students will be on this platform. We hope the students that don't get selected during year 1, if they're still of age, they can reapply for year 2 or year 3. I think in terms of the what we provide, Shruti had mentioned a phrase early on about teachers being opportunity providers. And I think we're coming to it with that same type of approach here, that we want to be able to provide learning pathways and opportunities for all. We want to recognize that students' needs may vary. We recognize that not all students may go on to university, that some may be on a very much more different entrepreneurial pathway, and that's okay. We recognize that some students may prefer to stay local. Others may want to travel internationally for their education. Students will have different needs during different times in their life. Those that go on to the university may be immersed in their studies, and then during their 3rd or 4th year have a plan that they really want to be able to engage more deeply on that. So we want to be able to know these students individually. We want to provide these opportunities and have opportunities to invest in them and to level up. So instead of just providing funding and scholarship to go to university, we want to know what that plan is. We want to be able to help identify programs that could help match their background and get them to their end goal. For those who are looking for more seed funding, we may have the capacity to do that, but first we want to be able to introduce you to resources that can help you shape your plan, to think a little bit more about how you can start small, develop a proof of concept, and then help scale it over time. So the goal here is much more of an individualized approach where students can level up and unlock opportunities.
Thank you for that. I think two things I am taking away is it's a definitely a lifetime opportunity, a lifetime benefit for all the students who get through. And also it's not only about the students who get through, but also everyone who applies. It becomes a community for them. All of them do get some sort of benefit. I think those are like two big things that I am personally taking away. As a next question to this, both to Jody and Mark, what is the scope you see of the RISE program in India, specifically considering the Indian context? What do you think is the scope?
So we know that there are millions of 15 to 17-year-old, young people in India. And in year one, we're really hoping to just build awareness and, let people know that RISE is here. We're looking to scale RISE over time, specifically in India, and hope to expand our reach in subsequent years. I think this year, unfortunately, we were so limited by the pandemic, but we also don't want to stop the pandemic from bringing awareness about such a great opportunity. Right now we're really trying to work with Teach for India and other partners in India to just, drive applicants either through the Hello World RISE app or figure out an alternative pathway to just really get young people in front of this application process and hope that they can learn something. I mean, in the coming years, we hope to be able to travel to India and, hold in-person convenings when it's safe and really talk about, and think about our plans moving forward. We're also working on expanding our language accessibility. So unfortunately in year one, we're limited in English just because of capacity, but it was so great to get on the call and hear everyone say hello in their mother tongue. I mean, it was so exciting. Also working with community leaders in India to think about what are the languages that we should expand to in India so we can reach more young people. So those are our plans over time, and we hope to, think about, even greater and broader outreach and partnership in India.
I think one of the ways that we can achieve our goals is really working with smart partners. For us, we're very excited to work with Teach for India because you know the region, you know the students that we're trying to reach. So part of what we intend to do is really wanting to learn and engage from the teachers in terms of what are the real challenges. And I think year one is going to be a tremendous learning year for us. And I think we're going to see many changes in subsequent years. Definitely on the language issue, we're concerned about the limiting it to English only. I think we recognize that that is something that we have to do during year one. I think that because the application process really favors video and conversation versus written literacy, it will not disadvantage students who may not have English language fluency as much, but in future years, especially with help from technology, hopefully we'll be able to engage and do more things locally. I think when we launched this initiative, announced it a year ago, that was all pre-pandemic. And so we had envisioned different activities, much more that were in-person activities. So I think as we head into year two, and when we're able to resume in-person learning again, I think we're going to hear a lot of creative ideas that are coming from both formal and informal education. Some of the ideas that we originally envisioned were application day events where students could come to a center where there is technology. And we could schedule a half day or a full day experience where there's learning where they could take away, but also have access to begin their application there. Also, there's been a lot of interest by teachers who recognize that there are a lot of 21st century teaching and learning approaches that are embedded in this. Thinking a little bit about, critical thinking, the communication skills and collaboration skills that Koyana referenced early on in the conversation. So thinking about project-based learning approaches and challenges, how do you bring that into the classroom? And so although the way that RISE is structured, it's a student working alone and the student applies individually and not as a member of a team, we have been doing some pilots in different schools around the world where some of our formal educators are seeing this as a great learning opportunity. And if they have flexibility in their curriculum, doing some curriculum mapping, determining where this aligns. And with some of those projects, we see that some of the students will start a new project, but we anticipate that many students have this calling on a particular issue and they've been thinking about it and been deeply engaged at many years. So we want to be able to allow them to participate and to get visibility for their ideas and provide opportunities for them.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. It gives a little bit more insights on specifically to India, what is required. I think the language part is quite interesting. That will, I think, help give access to all students. So there won't be any sort of barrier if that also happens. My next question is to Sushruti and Koina. So this is about, so we have heard about different barriers or gaps that are existing. So what role do you see a teacher is playing in bridging the gap between students and opportunities like RISE? So Koina, maybe you can share about what should a teacher do, and maybe Sushruti, you can share like what are the things that a teacher can do to bridge this gap.
So I firstly think that a teacher should actually believe in the student, like believing in the first part. A teacher or like any support should be there who believes in the potential of the kid. Like my mentor always believed that I have some potential, and he always just nourished my skills and made me apply to all of the big places possible, like KR, and then I have this opportunity. So now, like, I got the criteria that it's for the a student aged between 15 to 17, and I am about to turn 17 this time. So I'll ask my mentor to help me out. And so I know, like, since a teacher is aware of all the good, all the great thing that is happening, and a teacher should know that what qualities the student or what qualities does his or her student possesses, and then just nourish it and just make the student more aware about things and make the student feel confident about himself or herself. And the student needs to be conscious enough and participate actively, like the way we learn at KER, kids and educators as partners. And I always believe, since I'm there with my mentor, that kids and educators are partners, and like partnership is the bestest possible way for achieving things.
I think Koina has pretty much shared everything. I don't need to add to it. I do belief is the most important tool that a teacher can have, and belief in the potential that every child can. I think apart from that is just as a teacher, how aware can I be, and just not just looking at my role as finishing the syllabus or making sure the children are able to attempt their exams, but also thinking about what are the different ways and means through which I can get my children to explore their strengths. And the other piece is something that teachers at Teach for India, fellows at Teach for India are encouraged to do, is be opportunity creators themselves. So how might a teacher play that role of an opportunity creator? And that's something that I'm thinking. I know, like, the year 2 that I was teaching, there was a theater fest that was organized by a bunch of fellows, and my children participated there. And that's when I realized half of my class is a really good actor. and they just bloomed from there on. Many of them are still continuing acting and pursuing courses at NSD, National School of Drama. So I just feel like being that opportunity creator as a fellow played such a vital role in children's life.
And if I could, I would just add from a RISE perspective, I do think that teachers are the best talent scouts. And one of the things that I appreciate about India in particular is the emphasis on the whole child and to recognizing talent. And Koyana, in her definition, also recognized that it could be in the arts as well. Too often we tend to focus on academic performance, and particularly in science, technology, engineering, and math. And I think here, there are many opportunities for those students. But I think there are those students who also don't perform well in traditional tests. And I think as teachers, it's very difficult when you see a student who is not engaged. And you know very clearly that this is an underperforming gifted student. The student may often act out because they're not being challenged, or their learning style is not appropriate. So these are some of the students we want you to consider. And I think that RISE is that opportunity for that student. The application process is, again, not traditional. We're not asking for students to submit their transcripts or test scores on this. We're looking to redefine what the definition may be. So certainly we want those students to apply. And again, we're not gating who applies. Anyone can apply. We're encouraging adults, teachers, parents to nominate the students. But our hope there is that we will capture students who are already, those who are showing talents, those who are already kind of proven in many ways, but we're also very much trying to reach those students who are promising, who we believe if we connect them to some of those right opportunities and give them the boost they need, that they may potentially be great contributors to solving some of our greatest challenges.
Thank you so much. I think this summarizes the importance of a teacher in the role or the life of a child, like believing in the child and creating that opportunity. And it's not only about one part, but a whole of a child. So seeing the child as an entire human being, I think that is also just makes all us teachers here also feel very, maybe big responsibility, but then really, really happy about it. My next question again is to Jody and Mark. It's also a little bit more details about the program. So what kind of projects are suited for this particular program? Is there any specific criteria that you look for, any specific kind of projects that will be good? And another connected question is also, how frequently will the mentoring happen and how will the mentors be assigned to these selected students?
So I will tackle the first part of that question. So for the project, we really don't care. I mean, we want to see what the applicant is interested in. I mean, it's like really about showing us your passion. It can be a project that you've been working on for months, weeks, years, or it could be something that you thought of as you were, going through the application process. And it's really limited, it's unlimited, sorry, in terms of, topic, focus area. We care more about what you're interested in than what the topic is, because, as you create this project or show us your project, your passion is really going to shine through. And it's not about pleasing us or pleasing others. It's really like what makes you happy, and tell us about it. So yeah, it's an unlimited scope of whatever you want for your project.
And to address the second question on mentorship, aside from scholarship or internship research opportunities, probably mentorship is the number one request that we have for many students, and probably one of the biggest value adds that we can provide for them. And it's difficult, I think, when you think a little bit about mentoring, particularly about matching the student and the mentor. You have to consider many different factors, the area of expertise, geographical proximity, even personalities. What a lot of the research shows that's very important consideration is the time investment that both parties are willing to invest. Some may have very limited time and just want a quick check-in. Others want a much deeper engagement. So what we're really doing is looking to see from a lot of the other partners who do great work. Sharutha, you mentioned Design for Change. And they're a fantastic organization that has mentoring built into their design thinking approaches. So we want to engage and look at different models and learn from them. We can envision, different models where there's one-on-one mentoring, but also a different model where there's one-to-many. We also know that mentoring needs change over time, and who you ask for mentors, and that it's important in having that mentor discussion that students think about having a mentor that's older than them, but also the same age and younger, recognizing that there's different learning opportunities that you could provide to different individuals. So part of what we will do is, in addition to providing kind of mentors for students and matching them with their interest areas, we also want to shift the focus in the conversation a little bit more to having students take ownership of that mentoring a little bit more, and having them think carefully about some of the social capital that surrounds them, that in an early stage, and especially in the time of COVID, that a mentor may be someone in their immediate family who's giving them a lot of advice, but then as their needs change, they will have different individuals do that. So we want to equip the students with the skills they need, and so that they can play an active role in seeking out mentors and determining who you ask. Oftentimes students will go for the leading expert in the field as their desire, and recognizing that a near peer, a near mentor sometimes is more helpful to be able to understand what that pathway looks like. So in addition to providing mentorship, the other angle that's very important to us is we're talking about that lifetime of benefit. Unlike other programs that tend to be time constraints, residencies, fellowships, which may be for 1 or 2 years, again, we're talking about a lifetime. So there's no alumni. Once you are part of this community, once you're part of that cohort, you're there. So we're trying to define what that looks like. We want to engage with the students to find out what their needs are, but a key component will be to involve those students and to be able to help and ask them to identify other students who they think would benefit, and to help mentor that next generation of change makers.
Thank you so much for that. I think what I'm also taking is how important it is to be passionate about something that you believe in, and also taking ownership. I think that's a skill for lifetime, and not only for any specific program. I think all of us need to take ownership of what we believe in it. Thank you so much for that. I want a specific question. I think all of you can answer, like based on your roles. Koina, you as a student, and Jody and Mark, from the exposure that you have on different countries and especially specific Indian context. How do we support talented kids, especially girls from conservative families? So, is there anything specific that we can do to support them, help them find their talent? Koina, you can also think of if you have seen any friends around you who are struggling in such a scenario. Yeah, Jody, if you can get us started.
Sure. So, I mean, we've thought about this and we're still thinking about this. The application process is largely individual. So, you know, that is one aspect of it, the individuality. The other part is the video submission. So, you know, if a young girl does not feel comfortable showing herself on video, we are okay with that. And we completely understand. We really take a holistic approach in how we review videos and understand that the context in every culture, in every region, in every country is really different. And so that also plays a major factor in, you know, how we select. We also understand that, you know, being a global winner and potentially having to travel to a residential program, if you need accompaniment from a parent or a guardian, we're also happy to make those types of accommodations. So we're very flexible in terms of, you know, the needs of each individual applicant and winner.
I think also we launched the application back on November 16th, and so we're about 20 days in. And it's interesting watching some of the videos that students are submitting. And again, I think you can start the process, the application process, and complete it within 30 to 60 minutes for stage one. But we're finding that some students are spending hours there just watching other people's videos and providing feedback. And many of the videos tend to be very authentic and genuine and somewhat confessional, and you worry a little bit about how their views will be understood, particularly in their families or in their communities. So we're careful about that. I think we're also taking a lot of precautions in terms of privacy. So parental consent is very important. So the students need to get permission from their parents to be able to participate in this program. We recognize that should there be any content that needs to be resubmitted, students have that capacity. We hope that students will resubmit their videos fairly often as they get feedback. We want them to be able to have many opportunities to submit their best video over time. So we give them the opportunity. We also give students the opportunity to flag content that they feel may be objectionable. And so, you know, our hope there is that if there's anything that's flagged, and we do have moderators reviewing the video content, that we can enter conversations there with them, kind of a listen and learn approach to determine what may be appropriate. And for that, it really depends a lot on individual culture. And so that's why we rely a lot on partners to be able to help us understand cultures and needs of different populations, and to make sure that we are providing safety for all of our students.
So I think that's an interesting question that you've shared, Ellie. When you asked me about this, especially girls from conservative backgrounds, I was thinking through one of the student interviews that I came across from one of our learning loops that we run. Was from a student from Hyderabad. It was a female student. She belonged to a minority community. And she spoke about the power of awareness. So she actually drove awareness and convinced her parents that why wearing a hijab is not important to her. It might be culturally important to other people, but she actually found her voice and shared it. And the whole, I think the whole idea made me think about what built this child up to be able to stand up for herself and share her views and opinions in that manner. And I think that's the key, right? There is a mentor, there is a role model in your life that can influence that. But I think for supporting children, especially who are at a disadvantaged position, I think nobody can influence them more than children themselves. Because coming from your peers, coming from someone who is like you, who speaks like you, who faces the same challenges like you, if they share that this is what I could do, I think it builds the courage and the conviction that yes, I can also do it. So yeah, that would be my recommendation, that how might you create that ripple effect through a child.
So I completely agree with all the other panelists said, and I have the same answer as they had. So the first thing is that I believe that if a girl who's sort of in the conservative area of any place, then maybe counseling would help, like personal interaction with the parents. I mean, there should be a mentor, like just now Shushruti Didi said. So a mentor, so this is what I have seen happening in my school even. So there were lots of kids and they used to face all of these conservative problems, and my mentor used to approach their parents, and he used to sort of convince the parents in a positive manner, telling the parents that okay, this is productive, this is beneficial for the student, and this might help the student, the kid further even. So like personal interaction or like counseling will really help. And again, like talking to the individual student will also help, because like just now Shushruti Didi mentioned about the girl who gained the confidence to share her opinion in front of her parents, and like building confidence, and even the peers help a lot. Like I have some friend, so before the call I was getting really nervous, so it's a general term. So before the call I was getting really nervous, but then I had my friend who constantly said me, no, it's okay, you'll be, just be yourself and try being confident about yourself. So like peers, mentors, and like parents even, then there are a lot of supportive parents. I have a very supportive parent, and parents, and they really support me. So yeah, support is all what is needed, is what I feel.
One final thought there, particularly from one of my visits to India. I think the courage and conviction is really important. The support is really important. I think also not to underestimate the ability here. I think back in my time in Kerala in particular, and again, we're talking about 10 years ago, where internet cafes were popular, and we're seeing that many wives and daughters were going to the internet cafes primarily with the goal of being able to communicate with their husbands and fathers who had left the country and were working internationally. And it was very interesting to see there, because of that strong need to communicate, that they were coming to the internet centers and the technology centers and learning the technology. And the adoption rate was very high. And soon, I think many of the mothers and fathers were seeing that the girls were acquiring their skills. And in many ways, that also gave the confidence to the parents that they too could learn that. So I think there's new opportunities, and you fast forward 10 years to what we're experiencing today, and with the challenge of technology in times of COVID and how creative we're going, we still have the access issues. But I think that here there's new opportunities to build a community, particularly a safe space where others can get confidence and meet other people who share similar values.
Thank you for that. I think from the program, and it's quite flexible. If they need any support, that is always available in terms of resubmission or anything. From maybe a teacher's side or from a student side, the power of peers, how we can influence each other. And also, like Koina said, conversation with parents. Just believe that, just talk to them, help them understand what it is. Thank you so much for all of these answers. I think we're kind of ending this panel discussion, just 3 more minutes. And now my, I think, almost final question is to Mark and Jody, a little bit more again about the program. We have few questions in the chat box also. Can you give us maybe any other information that we haven't covered yet? Some specific questions are, can you elaborate on the application process? Can we apply as a school, or has it to be specific individual application? And what about children who don't know English very well? How can they apply? These are some questions, and anything else that you want to cover about the program.
Yeah, so there is a teacher nomination process, which I definitely want to emphasize, since I know there are a ton of teachers on this call. But so essentially how the nomination process works is, I mean, teachers know their students and young people best. So if you go over to risefortheworld.org/nominate, you can type in your information and it'll generate a unique link, and you can send that unique link to a young person. And then once they click on that link, if they're on a mobile device or smartphone, it'll take them directly to the App Store to download the app and begin the application. If they are on a computer, it will take them to risefortheworld.org with specific instructions on how to apply and download the app. We can also, if you reach out to support@risefortheworld.org, and I can put all of this information in the chat, and you would like to nominate a student, but they don't have access to a smart device, we're happy to work with them and with the teachers to provide the alternative application pathways.
And my colleague Joshua had put in chat the website URL as well as an email for support@risefortheworld.org. We're happy to answer more questions on that. Just in terms of final thoughts there, we're so excited to partner with Teach for India, and we thank the Firki community and Ellie for helping us begin this conversation. We're hoping to reach students like Koyen, and I'm glad to know that she's of age. I would hope that she would apply. We're grateful to teachers like Sharuthi, who I hope we'll nominate some students. The nomination process is a fairly easy one. It's really a link. We're not asking teachers to go through the process of submitting recommendations or filling out questions there. So it's really kind of designed for that awareness building. We're thrilled that we can bring this opportunity. We need a lot of help. We need your feedback. We need your guidance. What's working? What do we need to think about for year 2? I look forward to other opportunities where we can come back and engage in further dialogue about how we can improve the opportunities to reach those students that we all wish to serve.
Thank you so much for that. I think exactly on time. We'll close out right now. And Koina, see, all of us are expecting you to apply now. So a lot of positive pressure on you. We're all looking forward to you applying. Awesome. So thank you so much, all the panelists, Mark, Jody, Sushruti, and Koina, for being here and for answering all our questions. I request each of you to please quickly share your thoughts also on this discussion on this webinar. What do you think about overall experience? Okay, Koina, you can get us started. How was it?
So I really felt good. I am really feeling confident. As I mentioned that before, I was really nervous, but now I feel good because interacting with people, I now feel that it really helps. It really helps you understand that what's happening around, and I came to know about this RISE program, and now I'm really excited to apply for it because again I am about to turn 17, so even I can apply, and I'm excited for that. And I was talking to my mentor about the application process even, and I've heard, and now also I've heard that about the application process. So I guess that's going to be really interesting and exciting. I'm really happy.
Yeah, I really enjoyed being here, and it's great to see that there are opportunities like RISE that are trying to close the access and the privilege gap over here. And I really hope that many children apply and get the opportunities that RISE has to offer and become a part of that network that they're trying to create. Just the thought of a global network of student leaders is something that's really exciting. So thank you, RISE, for doing that. And thank you, Koina, for your words of wisdom. I learned a lot from you today.
It was so great to meet you all, and we're very excited to learn from you guys because, like I said, talent identification and young people in India better than we do, and so we could not be more thankful that you've allowed us to be on your platform and talk to your network, and we look forward to continuing this partnership and continuing to learn from all of you.
Mark, would you like to share any closing thoughts?
Just again, my appreciation for being invited to be part of this conversation. We hope to address any of your questions, and we look forward to receiving applications by our deadline, which is 29th of January.
Perfect. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, dear participants, also for being here and listening all of this and also asking your questions. Our next webinar as part of the Learning Path Teaching in Action is scheduled to take place on December 11th from teaching to writing materials. So please look out for Firki emails in your inbox on information. We've also sent the feedback form in the chat box. So please take 2 minutes to fill that. It'll help us understand a little bit more about how else can we make our webinars and discussions better. To reach out to the RISE team after this webinar, please write to them at rise@risefortheworld.org. This will be pasted also in the chat box. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great evening and night. Good to see all of you. Thank you so much.